welcome to Meals with Maria. Today we're doing another episode of Dollar Tree Gourmet. It is Delish at the Dollar Tree. I have taken, let's try it again. It's Dollar Tree Gourmet. It is Delish at the Dollar Tree. I have taken every recipe in this magazine and figure out how to make it at the Dollar Tree. And I'm kind of going through and picking my favorites, and we're gonna make something delicious from Delish for you from Dollar Tree for cheapo depot, but it's still fancy and it's still gourmet. So let's check it out. We are going to start out with this black bean and corn salad because I've made something like this before. I'm comfortable with it, and it's beautiful, delicious, and fresh, especially on a summer day that is hot. It's a no-cook meal, guys. That's so important right here. In a large bowl, you want to combine 1 can of black beans, drained and rinsed, with 1 can of drained corn. Now, you could use frozen corn, or you could use fresh corn here if you're not cooking from the Dollar Tree, because fresh corn is so cheap these days. Now, mistake, I didn't buy the dried cilantro. I just talked about this in my last video. I needed dry cilantro, and for some reason I saw it there and I thought that I already had it in a bag somewhere. Couldn't find it. So we're using fresh cilantro that I did have at my house, but you can get dried cilantro at the Dollar Tree, and because of that I decided to incorporate it. Now, when it comes to the canned items, if you don't have to, don't buy those at the Dollar Tree, because these days you still can, even though prices have gone up, get them for quite a bit cheaper at your local grocery store. So watch for prices if you can. Then we're going to use the juice of 1 lime in a separate bowl, but I have lime juice because you can get that at Dollar Tree. So I'm just guessing how much about 1 lime's worth of juice is. Then I have this olive oil and bean oil blend. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of that, and 2 teaspoons of honey. Now, Dollar Tree does not carry 100% pure honey. They do have a corn syrup and honey mixture, and that is what I decided to use. Even if you don't have any of those things, sugar will do as well. Then the recipe calls for 1 clove of minced garlic, and I'm using about 1/2 tablespoon of garlic salt and 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. Add pepper to your liking. I'm using about 1/2 teaspoon, and then mix everything together well, because this is our dressing here. And this is what is going to give all of the beans and corn their flavor. I did, after the fact, add in some onion powder, probably about 1 teaspoon, because the recipe calls for fresh onion, which I did not have from the Dollar Tree. Another thing that the recipe had was some fresh avocado and some fresh tomatoes, and it didn't have either of those things. I think you probably could put canned diced tomatoes in there, but I was a little bit worried that they would taste, a little bit acidic, but I think you could probably counteract that flavor with maybe a little bit more of that honey or sugar. And then, luckily enough, my Dollar Tree carries feta cheese. Now, the original recipe calls for, I always mess this one up, I think it's Cojita cheese, Cotija. It's a delicious cheese, but I also find that I can often substitute feta cheese for it, and it is still very good. And I've done feta cheese in a bean salad before, and we love that. This is what everything looks like mixed together. I do think that a little pop of red would make it look even better. So if you're feeling adventurous, go ahead and add those diced tomatoes. But overall, this was absolutely wonderful and definitely Dollar Tree gourmet. Next up, we're making this jalapeno popper potato salad. Now, there were a couple ways I could have done this from the Dollar Tree. I opted to use canned potatoes, and they were delicious. But I have read that you can also use the Hungry Jack potatoes au gratin to make potato salad. My Dollar Tree carries frozen bacon, and it's 4 strips of bacon, which is perfect for a potato salad for us. Now, there's also bacon bits that you can get at the Dollar Tree. So if your Dollar Tree doesn't have a freezer section, or you don't see that bacon, you could either use turkey bacon or you could use the bacon bits. For the dressing, I am pouring 2/3 a cup of mayonnaise, and I did find this light mayonnaise at my Dollar Tree. I've seen different brands before, so it kind of depends on what you can find, and I've also seen Miracle Whip. I personally am not a big fan of Miracle Whip, so I'm not going to use that in this case, but if you like it, you could probably use that. Now, the next ingredient is 1/2 cup of red wine vinegar, and that seemed like way too much for me. So I cut mine down to 1/4 cup, and if I were to do it again, I would have just added a couple of teaspoons. It was too vinegary for my taste, although my husband loved this salad. So I think all you need to do is cut it down to a couple teaspoons of vinegar, and you're going to be in good shape. I used cider vinegar from Dollar Tree because that is what they had. I could not find red wine vinegar or plain vinegar. And then you see me cutting up fresh scallions because I was just at Dollar Tree earlier and I should have bought the dried chives. The recipe actually calls for a tablespoon of finely sliced chives and more for garnish, but for some reason I didn't buy them. So I figured because I know that you can get them at the Dollar Tree, I am just going to use some scallions to make sure that I get the full flavor. And my recommendation to you, if you are making this with Dollar Tree ingredients, is to get those dried chives. To that, you just want to add a teaspoon of garlic powder and salt and pepper to your liking. So I stirred this and I stirred it and I tasted it, and this is when I decided that it was just too much vinegar for me. And so I just added some extra mayonnaise and a little bit of sugar because sugar is going to kind of cut that vinegary flavor, and it ended up tasting quite a bit better. So if something you're making goes awry, go ahead and give it a taste and then see what you can do to use the ingredients you already have on hand to fix it. You don't want to just throw something away because you don't like it. So the original recipe calls for 2 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes, and I grabbed 2 cans, just drained those out and poured them into a bowl. And you could actually just cut them on the cutting board with a knife if you wanted to. I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to work out, so I kind of just went through with a fork and kind of mushed them up and made them different sizes to make it more like potato salad style. I was so surprised at how good these canned potatoes turned out. I had actually never used them before, but I'm glad that I did because now I know I can just keep some in my cabinet, and if I need to make something real quick, I have potatoes ready to go. Also for this potato salad, because it is a jalapeno popper salad, we will need jalapenos, and while Dollar Tree does not carry fresh jalapenos, they do carry pickled jalapenos that are quite good. Now the center of the jalapeno is the really spicy part with the seeds and everything, so you may want to pull that out depending on how you like your heat level or whether you like that. And I did not do as much as the recipe initially calls for. It actually calls for 2 whole jalapenos thinly sliced, which I think would be absolutely wonderful, but with my kids and my family, I didn't want to scare anybody or give them too much heat, so I just cut up 3 really small ones just to give a little bit of tang and bring that jalapeno popper flavor to the salad. Also in this salad is some cheddar cheese, and thank you to subscribers who told me to freeze the Dollar Tree cheddar cheese so that it grates easier. It did grate quite a bit easier. I still had some breakage, like some pieces broke off, but I was able to grate those pretty easily because they were frozen once I needed to. The recipe calls for 2 cups of cheddar. Use as much as you like. I actually only used like half the block, and that seemed like enough for our salad. You just want to mix your cheese, potatoes, jalapenos, and scallions or chives, as they should be from the Dollar Tree, with 4 slices of crispy cooked bacon. You just want to crumble that up as much as possible and put that in there. And I did save 1 slice off to the side because I'm going to top it with that and make it look pretty. Add your dressing and stir to combine. And then we're just going to garnish with the rest of the bacon, the scallions or chives, and a little bit of shredded cheddar, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I loved this, and I could not believe that we were able to make it simply from the Dollar Tree. As always, do not forget that many of these items may be cheaper at your local grocery store. Just because it's at Dollar Tree does not mean it's the least expensive. But I do know some people can only get to one store, especially with gas prices these days, buses, all that stuff. So if you're going just to Dollar Tree, you can make these things and it will help you. These are beautiful, wonderful gourmet style salads straight out of the Delish Magazine. We loved them. I served them with some sliced London broil, which is a very inexpensive cut of meat, and it tasted wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you're enjoying this Dollar Tree Gourmet series. If you did not catch that first video in the series, go ahead and click on the video right here. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss anything. I will see you all very soon.